So where is fear? Fear is down here. If fear is down here, then in fear there is no alignment. And this is exactly why Abraham says not to look at the cons. Only look at the pros and the pros and the pros and the pros in order to make a decision. Because soon as you start looking at the cons, you're looking at the risks. And risk is fear. So if you're going to make a decision between two alternatives, look at the pros of both. Weight out the pros relative to each other. But don't make decisions based on cons. Because the cons are going to keep you where you are. They will not let you move forward. Because our mind, our logical mind, operates on the principle of what it knows. Anyone who has studied psychology even knows this. The logical mind operates on the basis of what is known to it. But what is known to it is only a tiny fraction of what is out there. Right? So take this analogy. A map, even Google Maps, Google knows everything, but even Google Maps does not know everything on the terrain. Right? There's a difference between the terrain and the map. The map shows you a part of the terrain, not all of it. So the mind says, unless I see all of it, I'm not going to go. Because what if there's a monster in the bushes? What if there's a hole in the ground that's just going to suck you down? So your mind operates on what it knows. Your heart operates on the terrain. The mind operates on the map. Okay? And that's the difference. So what does the mind do? The mind looks at a path that it can see. Why can it see it? Because it's been there before. Or it knows someone else who's been on that path before. Right? So it extrapolates. If that path was dangerous in the past, it's still dangerous. Because last time I went down that path, there was a monster in the bushes. 20 years later, that monster is still there. Someone else went there, took that path, and it ended up not so good. But they are not you. Right? Doesn't work that way, because each one of us creates our own reality. So the mind operates on the basis of what is known, and if what is known was not positive, then the mind refuses to go forward because it doesn't want you to get hurt. That's the fear. The fear is, I'm going to get hurt. What is a risk? Risk is fear that I will get hurt. So where there is risk, there is no trust. Because trust means I'm always looked after. I'm always good. You can't have it one way and also have it the other way. It's either this way or that way. So a lot of people live in fear and end up not doing things that they want to do. And I always say, and it's one of our affirmations in the 365, is that when the goal is big enough, the fears go away. The fears only hold you back because you're giving them importance. Now, giving them importance is up to you. It's your perspective. It's not factual. It's not real. That is why whatever is reality, the facts never change. But reality is not just about fact. Reality is about fact plus your perspective. Your perspective of the facts is what makes reality real for you. And that's why every single person can have their own reality based on the same facts. Based on the same facts. Right? I mean, think about it. It was very interesting. So, when I was still in grade school, my parents and myself as well, we love going to secondhand bookstores and just browsing through the secondhand bookstores and picking up good deals and stuff like that. We just spend, so in Pakistan, there are entire streets devoted to secondhand bookstores. Like, it's massive. You go there, you can spend a whole day there. And I remember picking up a book of the history of India and Pakistan. So, the British occupied India and Pakistan. It was one large country under British rule. And when the British left India and Pakistan, the geographical land became divided into what is now India and Pakistan. So this book was a book of the history of the Indo-Pak subcontinent pre-partition. It was written pre-partition, which means it was written in the 1930s. Partition happened in 1947. And now I was in grade school reading history. And I loved history. I loved reading about kings and queens and princes and, I love that stuff. So I start reading this book and I'm like, wait a second. What this book is saying is not what is in my textbook at school. It's the same history. Like, factually, it should be the same. But it wasn't. And I realized that the history of any war told by two different sides is going to look very different. Just look at what's happening with the Ukraine and Russia. Read the Russian version, read the Ukrainian version, and then read the version of any other country in the world. Not the same version, because facts plus perspective are equal to reality. Right? So the mind creates perspective based on what it already knows. The mind creates perspective based on what it already knows. If it doesn't know something, then it waits. It says, wait a second, I don't know this, so don't go there until I collect information about it. Wait, I need to investigate this. I need to research this. I need to find out more about this before I can go. So this is why people keep saying, oh, there's a risk that I need to figure out how to deal with. And sometimes they wait for years. Years go by and they don't move forward. They get stuck because they don't have enough information. Right? So, it's funny because I'm analytical and I'm a researcher, and at least I call myself that. And sometimes I see people who will just keep researching. They're never ready. They are never ready because they're still researching. And people who know far less than these people go and do those things. Right? And then we call that luck. We turn around and call it luck. So how people explain risk and other people achieving success despite those risks is by bringing in this unknown factor called luck. So when the mind can't explain the reasons, there's either unlucky or lucky. And you just assign it to that and leave it alone. I'm just not lucky. Have you ever heard someone say, I'm just not lucky? And it's just because there's an unknown ingredient. I haven't figured it out, so I'm just going to assign it this value based on luck. And that's all there is to it. And that's why, when people say, follow your heart, they say that because the heart knows the terrain. It's not guiding you based on the map. The map is only a part of the terrain. Whereas the mind cannot guide you on anything else other than what it has on its map. So if it's never been there, if it's never seen any evidence of it, it's not going to go. That is where fear comes from. Right? So this is why in our 365 we have an affirmation that says if the goal is big enough, the fears will just dissolve. They'll just melt away. You know why? Because you won't look at them. Whatever you look at, whatever you give attention to, expands. But for someone, let's say, who's trying to make a decision between this job, or this business and this business, or business and job, then if they look at both the pros and the cons, they're splitting their energy. Because one is here and the other is here. That's a split of energy. You'll never get to a decision that feels good. And that's what happens. People go ahead and make a decision and it still doesn't feel good. Something's missing. I don't know what it is. Right? And that's when they second guess themselves. They keep revisiting the decision to see if they can feel better because something about it doesn't feel right. Because they're splitting their energy. And every time they revisit the decision, they split their energy even more. Until what happens is they take a good deal and make something horrible out of it. Because they're just not staying aligned. That's how it works. So in the end, it's all about alignment. That's why Abraham says, use any excuse to go up here. Anything. Just hang out over here and everything will settle down. Because when you're over here, your mind is going along with your heart. When you're over here, this is what I call heart and mind alignment. When you're over here, the mind stops asking questions about the risks. When you're over here, the mind starts accepting the fact that it does not know everything. And it's okay to experiment to find out. This is where those people who are successful become successful because they just keep going. One thing doesn't work, they try something else. When that doesn't work, they try again. They don't let the risk of something prevent them from trying it. Because they understand that really there is no failure. You just need to kiss enough frogs so that you find the prince. All right, that one didn't work. That's okay. I'm no worse off. The thing that goes wrong is it doesn't work, and then people say, oh, it's just not for me. And they make blanket statements. I remember my mother trying to start a business. And her business didn't work. And you know what she said? She said, I'm just not cut out for business. She didn't say, oh, let me go try another one. Or maybe maybe I can go do a job. She didn't do that. She just, it's not going to work for me. I don't have the luck for it. Right? So we just assign luck the responsibility. And then we do nothing because now I'm off the hook. I'm just not lucky. But luck is about saying to yourself, nothing will ever go wrong. I can figure it out. That's what luck is. Luck is people moving forward and not looking at the risk. The interesting thing about risk and fear is that it's energetic. It's energetic. So if you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. Your looking at it creates it. That's why when somebody is walking a tightrope, imagine someone walking from one mountaintop to another mountaintop. You know what is the first rule? Don't look down. Because if you look down, what are you doing? You're activating the risk. Make sense? So we know these things, right? So we don't activate the risk. Don't look down. Mountain climbing, don't look down. Look up. Look where you're going. Driving a car, look where you are going. Don't give attention to other things because whatever you give attention to, you activate.